Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, wishing you a happy early start to this nice Thursday morning over here after a nice little tumble from yesterday's analysis, of which I wanted to follow up on that, all of the higher term time frame signals, plus a few more that have been brewing and perhaps will be resolved as soon as today. And I suspect without further ado, we can just jump into it right now. Why not waste any more time? So first things first, starting off with the big bad signal, the one signal to rule them all, the one signal to bind them, the one signal to bring them all into darkness, and who the hell knows what happens after that. Anyways, this is volatility versus momentum yet again right here. We're looking at the volatility of stochastic momentum represented by this moving metric versus stochastic momentum itself. And essentially, anytime that we have seen stochastic volatility at extreme lows, which are defined as these sort of extreme areas right here, as identified by these green vertical bars, the expansion phase that happens from those extreme lows has led to an average move of about 23.76% over the course of about 8.5 to 9 days, let's say. And the stochastic momentum also has been getting the right direction on those volatility expansions for almost 90% of the move. So pretty damn good right there. And what is the next big piece of information? Well, Bitcoin did close below the momentum pivot yet again. So we have, I think, 2 to 3 days closures in a row right here. And now the new momentum pivot is 24,700. What is interesting about this is that, technically speaking, we have not seen volatility expansion just yet. To get volatility expansion to confirm the signal, which is like when the signal actually, is theoretically activated, we need to see the volatility actually get a positive slope right here. And as you can see right now, it's still angled to the downside. Of course, it's one step at a time, but this is looking more and more likely, let's say. In fact, personally speaking, I think that it's, more or less confirmed as far as what I'm looking at. I think it's actually confirmed as of a couple days ago. Anyways, with that in mind, I wanted to now combine this with a few other things that we've been, postulating over here, keeping, that number in mind, 24,700 for right now. And then, of course, going over to this chart, of which we can analyze the 2-day time frame, which is closing tonight, 16 hours, 35 minutes, and 30 seconds left to go. And what is interesting about this chart as of right now? Well, we do have potential hidden bearish divergence in progress right here. Actually, of multiple drives, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be the key right there. If Bitcoin does basically close here or lower by end of day, anywhere below 24,400 will certainly do it, confirming this as a local high, thus a lower high in comparison to the last major highs that we did see in May at 30,000 bucks. So that's kind of the problem with these charts right now, is that you're going to have hidden bearish divergence available to you, especially as long as you're below about 30,000 bucks. And the next time that we do confirm a local high, which could very well be as soon as tonight, well, I would say that would be another tick in the box of more likely to trade the downside than the upside right here. On top of that, we also see the 5-day is closing tonight at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it will also have a chance to confirm hidden bearish divergence between the same points, those highs in late May at above 30,000 bucks, and kind of where we're at right now, much lower than that at about a high of just over 25,000 bucks, obviously. So how would you confirm this? It needs to be a local high right here. A little bit more difficult in this case because theoretically, to fully confirm a local high, you need to take out the low of the prior 5-day doodle, which is 22,666. Great number right there. But ultimately, rejection right here and closing below basically the same level as the 2-day, 23,400 would probably do it for me as well. And this is also accompanied by, relatively low volatility over here. Volatility on the BBWP is similar to what we did see back on over in April, actually. April was the last major move that we did analyze, or I wouldn't say the last major move that we analyzed here, but the last major impetus for a major downside move that we analyzed back in April, stating that price action very likely to come down to 30,000 bucks, and we got another signal for another major drop to kind of where we're at right now. So that's a bit concerning. Now, with that in mind, I did also want to pull back on over here and reference the 2-day stochastic momentum oscillator, which again is closing tonight. If that one closes below 23,350, then momentum will officially turn to the downside for the first time basically since July, literally the beginning of July right there. So you'd have all of these things kind of moving in motion. You can see that price point comes up many times, basically any sort of a closure below there tonight. And yes, I'd say that, extreme extremely, very, very likely we do see this one continue onwards and forwards to the downside. On top of that, if we do go back on over here and go to the daily, I did want to point out that the daily jewel signal working pretty damn well. That one fired off a few days ago on the 15th and 6th, or the 15th was the warning signal, and then the 16th was the signal, of which, well, just following up on that, I mean, that is so far so good, I'd say. And then also a particularly strong one to me is this on the daily right here, this silver cross. So Bitcoin was, if it could remain above about 24,000 bucks, going to get a silver cross to the upside, of which Bitcoin coming back down below these very particular levels, like it's going to be about 23,500. These two moving averages right here, essentially the green and the yellow, which is the 55 and the 21 respectively, does imply that this one's very likely going to be rejected, and we're probably going to get another move to the downside, another try to the downside. It is, to be expected, as we did say yesterday and the day prior, that anytime you do have a cross like this, that is, getting close to occurring, like you see over here, like you see over here, that has been away from the other side for a long time, meaning that in this case, we got across to the downside. It's now hitting that across to the upside. Typically, the first one does get rejected. It does not imply, however, that Bitcoin's destined to make new lows. Obviously, it can, but I do think, I do think to make this analysis a little bit more nuanced, the market is so extreme in the sense that people either believe Bitcoin bottomed and we're going straight to the fucking moon from here, or Bitcoin is never going to bottom and it's going straight to like 10,000 from here. I think that both of those scenarios are a little bit less likely. I think what's just as likely is Bitcoin come down here, put in a nice downside move, to be fair, and then put in a higher low somewhere, basically anywhere above about 19,000 bucks. Definitely possible right there. So with all of that in mind, kind of a lot's at stake today. I mean, a lot's at stake the last few days, and realistically, the bulls have failed every fucking time. But hey, where would I say that the Bullahs regained their power? Well, back above yesterday's high would be a very obvious call in this case. Even that wouldn't turn up the daily momentum, but hey, that would probably be good enough for me. Could we find anything on a lower term time frame right here? Now I'd actually say the exact same area, 24,500 basically. As long as Bitcoin's below that, pressure onto the downside. Short-term rallies are just that, short-term rallies lean into lower highs. Keeping in mind that if we do go reference stochastic momentum for the short-term timeframes, is there any indication of a bounce first? Well, 12-hour is nosediving below 24,200 or so. 6-hour is also down as long as Bitcoin's below 23,620. Do keep in mind that it's quite extreme to the downside right here. The same regions that we have seen on the 27th of July lows and the 13th of July lows, which was right here and right here respectively, and also to a lesser extent the same late June lows right here. So a little bit of hopium for that, I suppose. If we go reference the 4-hour, the 4-hour will also be pointed up above 23,250, which Bitcoin actually above right now by about $100 with 2 hours and 39 minutes left to go, so a long time. And then of course we go over here to the hourly. This one is about to turn down below 23,350. So, if you're looking at Bitcoin has already broken, which I think is in a lot of ways reasonable, pressure onto the downside still, and we are kind of in trending motion right here. I do expect wicks, in both directions, obviously, and very likely these areas of interest in mind, both the upside and the downside for the short term. But ultimately, it's very likely to be one step before the next, and I just don't see any personal reason to be looking at this as bullish as long as Bitcoin is below that pivot, the same pivot that we've been working off of for the past week now, and Bitcoin has slowly but surely kind of failed below it for the past few, I think like 3-4 days now. So with that in mind, I think that's a good place for me to start to leave on off here. I'm just kind of following up on all these things that have been slowly evolving, but that is kind of the name of the game at the end of the day. And is there any other announcements that I want to be making? Yeah, Instagram, I've been posting a shit ton there recently, a metric shit ton that is, which you can find in the link in the description below. Sometimes I post price action updates as well as other like trading related content if you happen to give a fuck. And then also Bybit options, they're offering 50% off if you use the link in the description below. If you are an options trader, I think that's kind of like a no-brainer because, well, that's just more money in your pocket, but fair enough, fair call to everyone out there. All right, sweet. I'll be signing off on that note. I want to be wishing you well yet again. Much love, take care, and see you hopefully soon.